Welcome to the part 2 of the story and life of St Ignatius Loyola, the company of Jesus. Ignatius, along with two of his companions, Peter Faber and James Lainez, decided to go to Rome and place themselves at the disposal of the Pope. It was a few miles outside the city that Ignatius had the second most significant of his mystical experiences. At a chapel at La Stosta, where they had stopped to pray, God the Father told Ignatius, "I will be favorable to you in Rome," and that he will place him, Ignatius, with his son. Ignatius did not know what this experience meant, for it could mean persecution as well as success, since Jesus experienced both. When they met with the Pope, he very happily put them to work teaching scriptures and theology and preaching. It was here on Christmas morning, 1538, that Ignatius celebrated his first Mass at the Church of St Mary Major in the Chapel of the Manger. It was thought this chapel had the actual manger of Bethlehem. So, if Ignatius was not going to be able to say his first Mass at Jesus' birthplace in the Holy Land, then this would be the best substitute. During the Lent of 1539, Ignatius asked all of his companions to come to Rome to discuss their future. They had never thought of founding a religious order, but now that going to Jerusalem was out, they had to think about their future, whether they would spend it together. After many weeks of prayer and discussion, they decided to form a community with the Pope's approval, in which they would vow obedience to a superior general who would hold office for life. They would place themselves at the disposal of the Holy Father to travel wherever he should wish to send them for whatever duties. A vow to this effect was added to the ordinary vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Formal approval of this new order was given by Pope Paul III the following year on September 27, 1540. Since they had referred to themselves as the Company of Jesus, in Latin, Societas Jesu. In English, their order became known as the Society of Jesus. Ignatius was selected on the first ballot of the group to be the superior, but he begged them to reconsider. Pray and vote again a few days later. The second ballot came out as the first, unanimous for Ignatius. Except for his own vote, he was still reluctant to accept, but his Franciscan confessor told him it was God's will, so he accepted. On the Friday of Easter week, April 22, 1541, at the Church of St. Paul, outside the walls, the friends pronounced their vows in uniformed order. The years as a superior general. Ignatius, whose love it was to be actively involved in teaching catechism to children, directing adults in the spiritual exercises, and working among the poor and in hospitals, would for the most part sacrifice this love for the next 15 years. From his election as superior general until his death, he would work out of these two rooms, his bedroom and next to his office, directing this new society throughout the world. He would spend years composing the constitution of the society and would write thousands of letters to all corners of the globe to his fellow Jesuits, dealing with the affairs of the society, and to lay men and women, directing them in the spiritual life. From his tiny quarters in Rome, he would live to see in his lifetime the Society of Jesus grow from 8 to 1,000 members. The Jesuits will found colleges and houses all over Europe and as far away as Brazil and Japan. Some of the original companions were to become the Pope's theologians at the Council of Trent, an event which played an important role in the Catholic Counter-Reformation. The Jesuits and Schools. Perhaps The work of the Society of Jesus begun by Ignatius, the best known in education. It is interesting that he had no intention of including teaching among the Jesuit works at the beginning. As already mentioned, the purpose of the first members was to be at the disposal of the Pope to go where they would be most needed. Before 1548, Ignatius had opened schools in Italy, Portugal, and Netherlands, Spain, Germany, and India. These schools, however, were intended primarily for the education of the new young Jesuit recruits. 10 such colleges built within 6 years indicated the rapid growth of the Jesuits. But in 1548, at the request of the magistrate of Messina in Cilicia, Ignatius sent 5 men to open a school for lay as well as Jesuit students. It soon became clear by requests from rulers, bishops, and cities for schools that this work was truly one of the most effective ways to correct ignorance and corruption among the clergy and the faithful, to stem the decline of the Church in the face of the Reformation, and to fulfill the motto of the Society of Jesus, ad moderum Dei gloriam, to the greater glory of God. This was clearly in keeping with one of the Ignatius' first principles in choosing apostolates, all other things being equal. Choose those apostolates that will influence those who have the most influence on others. Maybe the best expression of this idea was in a letter he wrote about the founding of colleges in December of 1551. From among those who are now merely students, in time some will depart to play diverse roles, one to preach and carry on the care of souls, another to government of the land and the administration of justice, and others to other callings. Finally, since young boys became grown men, their good education in life and doctrine will be beneficial to many others, with the fruits expanding more widely every day. From then on, Ignatius helped to establish Jesuit schools and universities all over Europe and the world. Ignatius the person. It is probably true that the picture of Ignatius that most people have is that of a soldier, stern, iron-willed, practical, showing little emotion, not a very attractive or warm personality. Yet, if this picture is exact, it is hard to see how he could have had such a strong influence on those who knew him. Louis Goncalves de Camara, one of his closest associates, wrote, "He, Ignatius, was always rather inclined towards love. Moreover, he seemed all loved, and because of that, he was universally loved by all. There was no one in society who did not have much great love for him and did not consider himself much loved by him. We regard a number of saints as great mystics, but never think of Ignatius as one of them. We have recounted a few of the many visions and mystical experiences in his life. His holiness, however, did not consist in such, but in the great love that directed his life to do everything for the greater glory of God." Please subscribe to my channel as you listen to this. Last illness. Ever since his student days in Paris, Ignatius had suffered from stomach ailments, and they became increasingly troublesome in Rome. In the summer of 1558-6, his health grew worse, but his physician thought he would survive this summer as he had done others. Ignatius, however, thought that the end was near. In the afternoon of July 30th, he asked Polanco, his secretary, to go and get the Pope's blessing for him, suggesting by this to Polanco that he was dying. Polanco, however, trusted the physician more than Ignatius and told him he had a lot of letters to write and mail that day. He would go for the Pope's blessing the next day. Shortly after midnight, Ignatius took a turn for the worse. Polanco rushed off to the Vatican to get the papal blessing, but it was too late. The former worthy courtier and soldier who had turned his gaze to another court and a different type of battle had rendered his soul into the hands of God. Ignatius was beatified on July 27, 1609, and canonized by Pope Gregory XV on March 12, 1622, together with St. Francis Xavier. Ignatius' feast day is celebrated by the Universal Church and the Jesuits on July 31st, the day he died. He was declared patron of all spiritual retreats by Pope Pius XI and is also considered a patron of soldiers. Today is the feast of St. Ignatius Loyola.